Today, we're going to talk about the best prospect in the NFL draft that you may have not heard of. That's Liberty's quarterback Malik Willis. Malik Willis is a transfer from Auburn. He's a redshirt junior this season. He's most likely going to declare for the NFL draft if he hasn't already. I'm unsure of that, but he's been all up and down in the draft. In the mock drafts, we've seen him pretty much anywhere from the top 10 to late first round to second and third rounds. In my opinion, you should draft him. If you're a team that doesn't have the best O-line, which a lot of these teams drafting quarterbacks do, and want someone dynamic, he's your guy. He plays at Liberty. They've played some good teams. They've played a lot of bad teams because he's at Liberty. He's played he played two Power 5 schools this year. He's played two pretty good Power 5 schools in his career. He's played Virginia Tech last year, and he played Ole Miss this year. He played Syracuse as well, the other Power 5 school he played this year. And, I mean, Syracuse football is Syracuse football. We don't need to really get into that. They're not that good. But Ole Miss is a top team. Ole Miss is a really good team, and he struggled that game. It's clear that he's got elite speed, but he doesn't have speed to escape every defender. So when he does that against teams like Troy, as you see in the highlights here, or other teams that Liberty plays, I believe they're independent, so otherwise I'd say a conference. But other teams he plays, he's able to just escape easily and make things happen because these guys aren't good enough. They're not fast enough to make plays on him. But playing against SEC schools, playing against ACC schools, he's not as fast. The other players are faster and they're better. That's more similar to what it's going to be like in the NFL. And by no means is Ole Miss the top SEC school. Bama, Georgia, they're a lot better than Ole Miss, especially defensively. Ole Miss is more of an offensive school with Matt Corral, another top prospect. But Malik Willis has been good. He's improved on his arm. He's shown that he can escape the pocket. And in my opinion, he looks like a mix between Lamar Jackson at Louisville and Deshaun Watson at Clemson. He has the pocket presence that both the guys had, where if it's not there, escape, because you know that you don't take a sack. A 3-yard scramble is better than a 5-yard sack. So just simple things like that. He shows the running ability more similar to Lamar than Deshaun, but Lamar's arm wasn't as good as Malik Willis's was in college. So he definitely has that Deshaun Watson part of him. But again, playing at Liberty, he's been asked to do so much. He's got to do everything for them. He's their Superman at Liberty, and it's tough to do that. At any Division I football school, it's tough to do everything and be that good. And he's done that. He's done a great job at it. Here's an article about him. This article, he's ranked as the 5th best quarterback in the top 10 for draft prospects. It says, falling from number 4 on this list, Malik Willis had to be Superman for the Flames in 2021. That hasn't meant victories, but by no means has it hurt his draft stock too much. He'll be surrounded by much better talent on any NFL roster, and as such, he'll be able to showcase his elite arm strength. Willis is a talented dual threat, but he's also developed immensely as a passer over the past 2 seasons. Willis is on pace to set new career highs in passing yards. He's already broken his previous high of 20 passing touchdowns with 21 this season. Willis is a dynamic rusher, but he doesn't just pull the football and scramble on every play. He maintains great eye discipline and keeps his momentum moving forward more often than not. Like other prospects here, Willis is far from perfect, but he has tremendous potential based solely on his arm strength, mixing his dual threat ability, and you'll be sure to see an NFL offensive team that's built around him in the future. In this article, I fully agree with. Every year we see a guy that comes from a smaller school and just is a top prospect, and no one's quite sure who it is. This year, it's Malik Willis. In the past, we've seen Carson Wentz and Trey Lance from North Dakota State. Guys you don't know too much about it, but they find their way. They play great, and they end up going in the top draft, and as top draft picks. Malik Willis is the guy this year. He has all the physical abilities. He was an Auburn commit for a reason, played 2 years at Auburn. He just had to transfer and get his opportunity somewhere else at Liberty because of Bo Nix's success. If he was at a different Power 5 school, maybe he would have been starting there, and it'd be easier to see him being in like a Matt Corral situation at Mississippi, where he's the guy of a not top SEC school, but has to do what he can to make his team good enough to get his attention. But Malik Willis is at Liberty and not a school like that. If he were at any other Power 5 school, everybody know him. He'd be a household name. He'd be in the Heisman conversation. And he probably should be. He's got the numbers. His numbers are incredible. And he's just been great this season. Taking a look at his game logs, the first five games of the season, he didn't have an interception. He didn't have any until his game against Middle Tennessee State, where he threw 3. Then he threw 3 again back-to-back against Louisiana Monroe. So these games is really where he started to struggle. Then into good bounce back, 2 bounce back weeks. Played North Texas, University of Massachusetts. Threw 7 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in these 2 weeks. Then he went to Mississippi, played against Ole Miss, and threw 3 picks and no touchdowns. Had a rushing touchdown that game though. He's got 24 passing touchdowns on the season and 12 interceptions to go along with 11 rushing touchdowns. So he's clearly a dual threat, putting up numbers, and it's just his ratings through the roof at 149.1. His averaging 4.3 yards per carry. He's got 820 rushing yards in the season. He's been really impressive to watch, as you see in these highlights. He's just doing things that a lot of other quarterbacks don't do, and he'll definitely be the top pick in the quarterbacks this year. A lot of teams need quarterbacks, and I don't think this is a really quarterback-heavy draft. I think Corral's good. I think Pickett's good, and then I think it's Malik Willis. And after that, I don't really see a lot of guys. I think Sam Howell would be better off if he stays in North Carolina than if he goes to the draft. But I think he'll probably go to the draft anyway. There's a lot of teams that need a quarterback, but all these teams that need quarterbacks are kind of in situations, well, if they don't like what they have at their draft pick, they're just going to wait and get a quarterback the next year. Like, Atlanta hasn't shown that they're going to move on from Matt Ryan yet. We just had my video talking about the Steelers and how they have the Haskins option and free agents options if they don't like who's available at the draft. The Lions really desperately need a quarterback, but they don't have to move on from Goff if they don't want to. It's not like you're in situations where you've got really old starting quarterbacks and you desperately need a new quarterback, as we've seen years in the past where we know someone's going to take a quarterback and they've already moved on from their current guy. Like we saw with the Bengals and Andy Dalton, they moved on from him. Everybody knew the Dolphins were going to draft a quarterback after they moved on from Tannehill. Just situations like that where you know the team's going to draft a quarterback, kind of like where you had a strong feeling New England was going to draft a quarterback, and everyone knew that the Bears needed a quarterback if one was available, and Fields was. So, personally, I don't think he'll be the first quarterback off the board, although he should be. I think that'll go to Matt Corral, and Matt Corral's deserved to be so. I think Malik Willis could end up falling to the Giants, and I think that's the best fit for him. They have a good defense, and they're kind of ready to win now, and I think it'd be better for them to get Malik Willis than try to get Russell Wilson or whoever they try to get in the offseason. Malik Willis is a guy, he's got the star power to make New York work, make himself a superstar. Like, he's that guy. He makes those type of plays that everyone's going to love. I feel like he can definitely handle the media attention in New York with his play style. His game will talk for itself, as he's very exciting to watch, and the Giants get a ton of attention on publicly national televised games for really no reason because they're not that good of a team. But Malik Willis is that good of a quarterback, and he'll make them that good of a team. You pair him with Saquon, and they have I think they have 2 first-round draft picks from the Bears trade. You get another lineman, help get that line right. You get Malik Willis and Saquon Barkley in the backfield with the receivers they have, and it's just a great fit, and he'll take over there and can be competing with Dallas for the division in a couple of years. So if the Giants could end up with Malik Willis and maybe steal Evan Neal at offensive tackle with their pick and the Bears pick, you got to be sitting here in the offseason talk about what a steal the Giants, what a draft the Giants had. The Russell Wilson rumors, any other Aaron Rodgers rumors maybe, they'll go to waste. They got their guy, and they'll prove it once he plays. Evan Neal's been great at Alabama, and you give Malik Willis an offensive line, give him some weapons that they have, it'll be a great fit. That's where I hope he goes. I think that'll be great for him. I think he deserves the attention. But I could see Matt Corral going there as well, and if he falls, who knows who'll pick him up. If he's still on the board when Atlanta comes to pick later in the first round, just because they'll be higher than the Giants' 2 picks, you could see him going there, playing alongside Kyle Pitts. That could be an interesting connection. And if he falls all the way to where the Steelers pick in the draft, just because their pick will be higher, but who knows how their season ends, and who knows what they plan on doing, could fit well in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin there. Or the last thing I could see him doing is falling all the way to the second round. Who knows if the Lions or the Texans pick him up with their second-round picks. So it'll be interesting to see come draft day. Definitely be watching for Malik Willis and where his name goes, because he's electric, and he's going to be an amazing quarterback wherever he goes, as long as it's the right situation. I think because he's probably not the best prospect, he'll end up getting himself into a better situation just because he won't be. I don't think he'll be the first quarterback taken off the board. I think it'll be Matt Corral. And after that, I think Malik Willis is better than Kenny Pickett, better than Desmond Ridder, better than Sam Howell, better than the other options just because of his dual threat ability. And because of the success we've seen guys similar to him, like I said, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, their success will be good reasons to draft him. He's a great quarterback, and although he's at Liberty, he's shown everything you need to see if you're a scout. If you're someone looking for a quarterback, this is your guy. Go get him.